You and I have had private conversations about how in Europe, often there is a denial of the level of racism that goes on, and you only see it. If it's not in public conversation, you only see it when you're in private conversation with people who are directly impacted. Right.
Exactly.
It's so much more subtle, right? It's so much more subtle and implicit. And that's almost scary because then you can't see it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I can give an example, for instance, because of course, I work at a big corporate. But one thing that I experienced a few years ago that was very interesting, because my family is from Suriname, you say it in English, country in South America, but it used to be a former colony of the Netherlands. And it was because the Netherlands were very active when it came to slavery. So that's where they enslaved Africans in Suriname. That was one of their colonies. But the interesting thing that they had, then I was sitting in the cafeteria, just chatting with some colleagues. And we were just joking around, not serious. We're just talking about like all the different ways that people can speak a language. But we were just joking around, not disrespecting anyone. But then someone came in, a senior manager actually, and she clearly misread the room. Because what she said is that, in an irritated voice, she said that all Surinamese people do not speak Dutch in a proper way. That was what she said. And I looked at her and I corrected her on the spot. I said, like, okay, it's not correct what she said, but also that there are different forms of Dutch. So you have like the Dutch that we speak here in the Netherlands, but also like we have Flemish Dutch that is speak in Belgium, and also the Dutch that is speak in Suriname. But that they are different forms does not mean that the one is better or worse than the other. But the interesting thing there was that, of course, she was wrong with what she said, but also like she had clearly gotten so comfortable with me that she had forgotten who she was sitting next to, that I was actually one of the people that she just disrespected, because she disrespected Surinamese people as a whole. So that's how it then gets out. So that's, and actually those moments are not pleasant, but at the same time, they really showed me a person, because she was so comfortable that she showed her real side. And I was like, okay, now I know who I'm dealing with. And this is one example, but with the same person, I also had another example, again with language. It was then a South African person there. And of course, in South Africa, you have the Afrikaans, and that language basically derives from Dutch. But her comment about Afrikaans then was that is a very cute language. And she talked about it with affection. And then I was like, okay, interesting. So the Surinamese that the black people speak, the Surinamese Dutch that the black people speak in Suriname, that you criticize, but the Afrikaans, that is spoken there by the so-called settlers who actually introduced apartheid there, a brutal apartheid regime, you talk fondly about that. So those kinds of things, and this is done an example. And the thing is that also that you said, like, how subtle it is. This is also a person that presents herself as very progressive. But this is then the things that she says. So yeah, this is one example, but that's one example that really, I clearly remember, because it really showed me something. Yeah.
But then you'll never know when you're in a safe space with people, because you can't know where they're really at. And I mean, I can speak as a white woman. It's like white supremacy and all of those contexts that you're raised in. It's pervasive, and you discover it as you wake up to it more and more ways every day, right? Like, it's, even if you know a lot, doesn't mean that there aren't things lurking inside, right? It's an ongoing, lifelong process of deconstructing that in ourselves, right?